On this video, we are exploring the world of micro-budget filmmaking. You see, low-budget films have always been a thing, but with the technological strides we've reached in the past couple of decades, we've hit a point where the means to make a movie are in everyone's pockets. But just because you have access to brushes doesn't make you a painter, and the same is true with a camera. So, let's take a look at 10 films to show that thriftiness can be an asset, and try to get through this list without spending $100,000. Number 1. Micro-budget zombie movies are a bit of a thing, as you'll see, and one of the earliest to reach prominence is 1989's Redneck Zombies, which was one of the first films to be shot entirely on videotape and was made on an estimated $10,000. Released by Troma and directed by Pericles Luens, who would go on to work on several other official Troma productions. It's sort of a take on Return of the Living Dead's Lost Toxic Waste Barrel storyline, although this time with a bunch of total stereotype redneck characters. The waste gets in there still, and we pause the film now for this public service announcement from the Tobacco Man.
You'll like my dick for a long time. You'll be loving it just for the rest of your lives. And someday you'll want to stop, but you won't be able to. Your gums will start hurting, start bleeding. They'll wear down and show the bottoms of your teeth. Then your teeth will fall out. You'll cry. But you won't stop. You'll just keep on dipping. Back in and back in and dipping. Your mouth will start hurting, start burning, and it'll grow, it'll get out of shape, and you'll go to one of them big city doctors, and they'll cut half your face off. But in your death, it'll still be in your mouth, laughing.
This sequence is easily one of the most terrifying things that I've ever seen. When people drink the toxic sauce, they turn into zombies, and prepare yourself for some ridiculous hijinks with hit or miss comedy, spotty acting, and some great low-budget practical gore effects. Some of the humor is really dated and hammy, and of course it's full of 80s gay stereotypes, but if you are a fan of early Troma, this is pretty much par for the course. It may not be one of the best movies on this list, but it's the true pioneer of backyard cinema. Number 2. I did a video a while back on the Bad Ben series, which was a super low budget series of films that was pretty much completely done by one man. That series' closest relative is a little film called Leaving DC, which was also almost completely a one-man project. Writer, director, producer, editor, and star of the film Josh Criss made the movie in his house utilizing security cameras and his phone to create a found footage film that works surprisingly well. The story follows Mark, who is leaving DC, it's in the title, to move out into a house in the woods. There's a good motivation for his filming in that he's part of a mental health support group, and he's making a video diary for the group, so you never really have to question why he keeps on filming. It moves at a nice pace and manages to keep entertaining and make you forget that you're basically just watching one guy walk around his house, and I guarantee the film will make it so that you never hear the sound of a flute the same way again.
A flute. Someone playing a flute outside my window.
The only downside of this film is the extremely abrupt ending, which just literally ends. There's no payoff and no resolution, and brings down the well-crafted story that it had laid down earlier. Now with this one, there's no official budget listed for this one, but I found a reported budget of $200. So again, it's a great example of filmmaking being more about the ingenuity and using what's available to you than anyone else. If one person using pretty basic technology can make an entertaining film entirely on his own, then anyone can make a movie. And I don't mean that literally anyone can make a movie. I mean that a great filmmaker can come from anywhere.
Jeez, didn't you see Ratatouille? It's like that film's whole message.
Number 3. If you're ready for some pure insanity, then get ready for 1987's Soultangler, another of the earliest entries on the super tiny budget lineup. So if you look at the box art cover, it's pretty clear that this is going to be a ripoff of The Reanimator, and it absolutely is. It's about a mad scientist and his drug that allows your soul to release and take over and reanimate other corpses. So I guess it's different enough that it's not a straight up clone. Shockingly, this film was made for a mere $8,000, yet features some pretty great early practical effects. Director Pat Bischow saved tons of money by casting friends and family members, and everyone worked for free, so you can imagine that the acting is not this film's strong point, and I'm gonna tell you right now that you really can't call this a good movie. There's nothing about this that is remotely similar to a good movie. The acting is bad, the cinematography is bad, editing, lighting, everything. It's all terrible. But there's something pretty hysterical and hard to tear away from. I mean, look at this scene.
You're not making any sense at all. We want your resignation tomorrow. And that's final.
You can't fire me. I quit.
That's just amazing.
Amazing for every wrong reason, but amazing nonetheless. This is basically a guy who decided to remake Reanimator for less than $10,000, and he did it, even if he did it in the worst way possible. And you know, out of all of the movies on this list, it's probably the one that the least amount of people would enjoy, but I guarantee that if you stick around until the last 20 minutes or so, you will be treated to a fantastic, super low budget, practical effects, gore extravaganza. Plus, the DVD contains the director's cut, which is actually a half hour shorter. You see, that since the film wasn't feature length, no one would show it, so they reshot a bunch of dialogue scenes to pad the time, and the director's cut is the original, leaner version of the film. Number 4. So we've already established that the zombies are often the subjects of micro-budget films, but they're unfortunately rarely well done. An exception to that is 2008's Colin from the UK, which was reportedly shot for around £45, which, to give you an idea how small a budget that this was shot on, is less than $100. It's approximately 66 American dollars by the current conversion rate. It's the tale of the titular Colin, who was bitten early on in a zombie apocalypse and transforms into one of them. Writer-director Mark Price wanted to make a film from the zombies' perspective, and the film is shot with a low, grainy quality mini DV camera that adds to the story more than it detracts. There's some fun camera trick style effects, although the shakiness of the imagery can be a bit distracting, and ultimately at 1 hour and 40 minutes, it does kind of overstay its welcome a bit. But it's a charming story with a strong lead who pulls off a really sympathetic performance without any dialogue as a zombie. There are some scenes in here that will amaze you that it was done under the budget, obviously using large groups of friends working for free in order to pull them off, but it's pretty impressive all around. Check it out, but make sure to take a couple of Dramamine first. Number 5. Paranormal Activity basically opened the door for mini-budget found footage films, and trust me, there's like 1,000 of them, but Rorschach deserves its own special mention. On paper, it sounds terrible and cliche. It's every trope that you've come to expect from this kind of movie. Paranormal investigators trying to figure out what's going on in a house. Doors moving on their own. mysterious things showing up on the video that could be a ghost, but could also just be a camera glitch, spooky dolls that move. You've seen all of this before, but writer-director C.S. Smith proves that execution matters. The acting works to convince you that this is real footage, and a little goes a long way to creating a great atmosphere. And the key to that is the editing. And the editing in this film takes the crown. It is so well done, and that's something that's often missing in these kind of films. And it's expertly cut in order to create a tension that this film needs. It was done on a budget of a mere $7,000, and it shows, as there's really nothing in this film that would be that expensive. The effects are minimal, there's no name actors, it's all in one location really, and yeah, it looks like $7,000, but it's pretty well handled. It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it sure does make for a smooth ride. Number 6. Although the Blair Witch gets credit or blame for the creation of found footage films, it really wasn't. Quite a few films used the storytelling technique way before that, and one of them was 1998's The Last Broadcast. The film is told in a documentary-style format and tells about an unsolved mystery show called Fact or Fiction and the show crew being murdered, and documentary filmmaker David Lee tries to uncover the real story behind their deaths. Was it one of their group that was blamed for the murders and put in jail? Was it the Jersey Devil, the mythical creature that they went into the woods to find? Was it one of the hosts whose body wasn't found? I was really surprised to find out that this film was shot for a mere $900, as it does a really nice job in maintaining a true-to-life documentary feel for that budget. A lot of the dialogue seems improvised, which helps with the non-acting feel, and it's a pretty engrossing flick that's only derailed by a completely out-of-the-blue and totally what-the-hell ending that changes everything that we've seen so far and kinda doesn't really make any sense. Number 7. Last year, I put 2018's The Headhunter on my list of best movies that I watched during quarantine, and after finding out some new information about it, I knew it had to be on this list as well. This gorgeous film, set in the Dark Ages, about a monster hunter Viking of a man who goes after monsters and collects their heads in search of the one that killed his daughter, cost a mere $30,000 to make. The production value in this film makes it look like it cost easily 10 times that, although reportedly, all of the horror props were just purchased from a Spirit Halloween store and jazzed up to look presentable. And presentable they are. The cast in this movie is like 2 people, and the crew was apparently only about 5, so it's pretty clear how they got the cost down, but rest assured that without a good eye and the talent to make this film right, it would not have looked this good. And the shocking thing here is that the director, Jordan Downey, previously gave us Thanksgiving, which I know has a cult following at this point, but it really doesn't show any of the innovation and ability found in this film. The Headhunter's a bit slow going, although it's never boring, and consistently well shot, although the ending does manage to drop the ball a bit story-wise, but otherwise a great success. Number 8. In 2012, we got probably our most disturbing entry on this list with the movie Found. This is another that completely surprised me when I saw what the budget was, since it looks quite a bit like a moderately budgeted indie film. The only thing that belies its micro-budget status is the acting, which is unfortunately inclusive of pretty much the entire cast. The story is that of a 12-year-old boy who discovers that his older brother is a serial killer and the horrors that unfold from this revelation. Made on a budget of just $8,000, this is a genuinely disturbing and unsettling film, as you can't help but relate to young Marty and his combined worship and disgust of his brother, and the film does a great job of balancing that same feeling in the viewers. The script and direction are fantastic, and they completely carry the story, kind of smoothing over the distraction that is the acting, and I guarantee the ending of this one, it's gonna stick with you for a while. Number 9. 2012 also saw the arrival of the directorial debut of Jeremy Gardner, who also made the brilliant 2019 film After Midnight. The film was made for a mere $6,000 and was shot over the course of 15 days with no script in place. It's the story of two former baseball teammates forced to band together in a zombie apocalypse. Making the best of its meager budget, the duo stay away from populated areas, stay on foot as much as possible, and avoid any situations in which they'd get boxed in. Because of this, they actually manage to avoid scenarios in which they would face large numbers of zombies, and instead are confronted with overwhelming boredom and the reality that the people that you are forced to be around on a regular basis are not necessarily always your friends, or even just good companions. It's not really straight horror. I mean, there's zombies, but the focus of the film is the relationship between these two characters and the tension between them. So it's more of a drama framed up by a zombie story than anything else, so don't expect fast-paced undead action, since there's very little involved until the claustrophobic finale, but it is gorgeously shot and overall just a great testament to micro-budget filmmaking. Number 10. The names Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead are big deals right now, with their latest movie featuring Anthony Mackie and the news that they're spearheading one of the Disney Plus Marvel TV shows, but their big break came from a mind-bending horror drama masterpiece called Resolution, coincidentally also coming out in 2012. 2012 was apparently a great year for micro-budget horror flicks. Made for a reported $20,000, this one's about a guy receiving a mysterious videotape of one of his friends and deciding to force an intervention on him, and then things start to spiral out of control in mysterious, possibly supernatural ways. That's the bare bones, but this film's really about storytelling and the actual nature of film itself. It's full of atmosphere, loaded with great performances, and there's enough mystery in it to sit down and analyze for days afterwards. Their later film, The Endless, was actually a pseudo-sequel to this one and features a few recurring characters, so if you've seen that one, you should know that the story actually begins here. I cannot emphasize enough how I do not understand that this film was made for only $20,000. There's not elaborate effects or anything, but it just looks so professional and so well crafted that it knocks you for a loop. Keep in mind that it's a slow burn kind of a film, so don't be expecting tons of action and violence, and like The Battery, it leans more into the drama aspect than the horror, but I can't stress enough just how good this one is.
So there you have it, 10 movies, and we did it! We kept it under $100,000. 10 movies that we covered for less than the catering budget of one of the Transformers movies. And I would recommend all of these movies. Obviously, they're not all going to be at everyone's taste. Like, obviously, the Soultangler or Redneck Zombies is not going to be for everyone, but I enjoyed all of these. I thought they all have their own merits and things worth watching, particularly the top couple. And you know, I didn't include some of the more obvious picks in this series, like I didn't include the Blair Witch or Paranormal Activity, because I feel like it would have been cheating to include those. So I didn't. But let me know if you think I should have down below, or if you know of any other micro-budget movies that you think that you would recommend. There was a couple in here that I wanted to use, but actually couldn't find any listing of the budget for. For example, Creep was one of those movies, although I could not find any list of what the budget was, but I predicted it to be very, very cheap. But I don't know what the budget of that was. So some of them I didn't include because of that, but let me know what you think that you would have liked to have seen on this list. Maybe we'll put it in a part 2, or other movies that you think I should cover in a micro-budget format, and we'll get to that. But in the meantime, like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell button down there, and then check out the patrons. These guys help keep the channel going. You can too by going to patreon.com/movietimelines and helping to support the channel. But you do support the channel by watching these videos, so keep on doing it. Keep doing it, please. And I appreciate it. And I'll see you very shortly for another great one. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.